Hello one and all, and welcome to episode 18 of the Contest Realm podcast. And obviously, for those that don't know, we're available on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, and are here on YouTube as well with a playlist. So make sure that you're listening on at home and you go to the relevant places. Now, this is episode 18, where a lot has happened in the space of a week. Now, myself and Dan didn't think anything would happen, and if it did happen, it would be very last minute, and it was very last minute. So we've got all this stuff to talk about, plus Kabams' little doozy when it came to the secret fixing, changing secretness of AQ and the timer and the timeout situation, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, to bring on board my glamorous, as always, co-host, which is Dan of Frontline MCOC. Make sure you go to www.frontlinemcoc.home.blog. Make it one of your bookmarks, or make it your homepage. That would be very nice to obviously get all the information. So, welcome, Dan. Hello, my friend.
Hey, Rich. How are we doing?
We're doing good. I had my first ever partner haircut whilst in lockdown yesterday.
I was going to ask, because clearly that is the takeaway of the week, is that you had your quarantine haircut, and that is a dangerous scenario on multiple levels.
It is. It's dangerous. Well, it was jubilation to begin with, because it was like excitement from M. Oh, I can do this. And
Yes.
then while we were partway through the haircut was, I don't think I can do this, which is worrying when
That's
you.
not what you want to hear.
No, it's not. It's not when you've got like some kind of like gradings and stuff, and everything's misproportionate and stuff. But I'm happy with what I got. I've got a Clint Barton from Avengers Endgame, which I'm pretty happy with, actually.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I'll settle for that then. I think somebody sent me a tweet of the Thor Ragnarok, the kind of like, don't cut my hair cutting man. That bit that was kind of like the worry, but it turned out all right. So that was good. You just done the champion fight of 6.2.6.
I did my first champion fight earlier this week. So I'm not going to go for completion with that right now, but honestly, it wasn't that bad. It only took me one revive.
Oh, that's
so
good.
I got him down to I got through the first 90% with Sim Supreme on the first attempt.
Yeah.
And then last 10% was with Thing, and had watched a couple videos of that Cade had put out showing the technique. And it took me a couple tries, but got him. And honestly, as far as the build-up, it wasn't that bad. But, I went straight down the middle, no nodes.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I had left no retreat up or something like that, different ball game.
Yeah. I think the problem that I had with this was I was finding it very rarely that dexterity was pinging up at the point of swiping away from the champion when he's doing the special attacks. I just wasn't finding that it was coming off, it was clicking, so I was changing the time in which I was dexing. I even had to do a different method in order to guarantee that it was hitting up. So I don't know, maybe I picked the wrong time to do it. Maybe it's a case that I needed to redo what I was doing. Who really knows? Any case.
Well, that's the thing with Thing, because I have a Sig 200 Thing. So if you let the rock stacks build up, and it he's got the Furies, it'll activate protection, so you can actually not block the SB1. But you can still dex because it's Thing. So I was getting 2 dexes in per special one of the champion. So I only had to do it like 3 times. So it was a nice little workaround for sure.
Yeah, that's a good tip then. Thing all the way to make it easier.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right, let's get into the episode 18, and This is the weird take-home one, because a lot of the CCP had the info of, to a degree, because I think there was more announced. The roadmap was not available. Is that correct?
Yeah, not until the roadmap was not in. If you've heard about the presentations, the roadmap was not in the presentation. So all the stuff from the presentations is in the roadmap, but not everything from the roadmap was in the presentation. So there was some stuff like the Abyss reward update. That was a surprise to us when we saw that.
I think that's another issue as well, because there's a little pocket. I wouldn't say it's like an extensive pocket of people, but there was a small pocket of people that were, I'd say, given a little bit of shade towards the CCP as a whole, as a generalization, because of the knowledge that they had, and because in some areas it was said that this was good news, which is always a difficult one to go. Right, well, where we were with going, yay, good, and now there's a lot of indifference. It's really kind of like, I don't know, trusting that Kabam's going to give us, the CCP members, all the info that we have to make an assessment to go, yes, this is good. How did you feel about that? About like just like feedback from people on it?
I mean, most of the feedback that I've gotten has been positive, and people like to stay informed. Now, there certainly are certain people in the community that were upset that we got a heads up and that they didn't. The reason for that, of course, is we're under NDA, and we're effectively a focus group for the developer. So that's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
That if there's a lot of stuff that gets run by us that they're trying to feel out and test out, and they want feedback on, but they also don't want to share with the entire community, because if they're not going to do it, then it could create a huge backlash, right? Or maybe just even the idea that they are going to do it would create a huge backlash. And we said, all right, well, if you're going to do it, you need to do X, Y, Z to compensate. And like, oh, okay, well, let's try to work on that. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just part of the deal. You're never going to make everybody happy. I think it's like with all things in life, you have to take the feedback with a grain of salt. But if it comes from certain people that you trust and respect, then, and it's negative, sometimes you have to take a step back and say, okay, like that person's usually not super critical. Like, I think they're fair and balanced, and they think I messed up, so I need to check myself here. And I didn't really find that was happening. Like, if there had been people in my alliance, like longtime officers, who had just been like, dude, what are you doing? I would have been like, okay, I need to re-examine this. Yeah. Because you got to consider the source. You're never gonna make everybody happy. So my position is I always try to be fair and balanced and communicate up to the absolute limit of what we're allowed to communicate as soon as we can. So that's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, the problem for me was that obviously the time zone thing didn't work out, because it was like 1
in the morning for you.
Yeah. Beezy was in for the second presentation, and the thing is, Beezy's got a few kind of like health issues, which you can find him like up to ridiculous time because he can't sleep, because obviously pain and other things like that. I think it's mainly with his back, but he was able to attend the second one, or kind of like watch the second one. You told me a good chunk of like what was in the first one, but again, because I didn't see the write-up, anything that was seen through, say, the full scheme of things was not delivered until everyone found out, or the day that everyone found out, because we got a write-up the day that they were going to announce the full thing. So there was some notes that Cam did, which I kind of read through, but again, like, same issues, because he was writing his own notes, and also what he was feeling towards what he was going to be counter talking about with the from the developer standpoint. So it was kind of weird to kind of like have it on the same day, because essentially I'm digesting a lot of it,
right?
And
as you're making a video about it,
and then there's more that there was more to even like what you knew that the community knew,
right? Like,
we all get to know at the same time. Like the Variant 5 thing, that wasn't something that we found out about in the CCP.
Right. I mean, that was one of those things that wasn't in the presentations.
Yeah, so people need to bear in mind, sometimes Kabam will tell us stuff, but also there's stuff that they will leave out, and we'll go, oh right, so you're doing Variant 5, or you were thinking about it. So, and right. It's like as well with like the Act 7, a lot of stuff that Kabam have kind of like put out with that. It was a case like everyone got beta tested with that, and we didn't get like a pre-beta of that. there's some stuff that they will, they'll leave out, they will put in.
Yeah.
So it's always a bit of a hit and miss, really, of if we get to know stuff or don't get to know stuff. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't, and they'll just announce it. Like, anyway, right, I've gone off topic, right? I'm going to get us back on track. That's my fault. Back
on the rails, Rich.
Yeah. The Corvus Timer Situation. This was something that was a bit of a mystery, because I think everyone logged in for. This is our final day, wasn't it, of AQ?
Well, it started in the middle of AQ.
In the middle of AQ. So this was
it went live in the middle of AQ, and I think they fixed it in the middle of day 5 of AQ. Like, by fixed, I mean reverted it back to the status quo that has been the last 2 years of Alliance Quest.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar, I mean, for me, I don't really do it. I like to be able to kind of finish a fight as quickly as possible, because I can't stand it. I want to move on to the next thing in my life. So
yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I have definitely used this.
Oh, right, okay.
And especially on those days that we are attempting map 7. I mean, most recently, I think I was on Can't Stop, Won't Stop, and basically the thought process there is it's just easier to fight it 10 times with Corvus than it is to actually bring a champion that counters the node.
Yeah.
Like that seems to be how people have decided to handle that, because it's a way to do it without any items.
Yeah, and this is the difficult one from a point of trying to sway the thought process of very different people on the matter. At the end of the day, there's several ways to look at this. I mean, from my perspective, and looking at this from what you see on the screen, if you look at the details of Corvus and you read the abilities, and then you kind of think, right, okay, so there's some aspect of, and again, I'm going to put in bunny ears here, immunities to death, that you would kind of go like, right, well, that's a fundamental to what this character should or shouldn't do. And therefore looking at a point and going, look, well, we already know that map 7 is so much of a horrible resource grind, potion grind, and just general, and in some cases unit grind on the player, and sometimes can feel incredibly unfair.
And plus you spent all those donations too.
And you spent all those donations as well. And then there's going to be others that look at this and go like, well, this is a bug that still needs to be, this is a bug in bunny ears that needs to be addressed. So it's a very difficult one to kind of satisfy everybody, but I'd say predominantly people are annoyed about the things that don't play into the player's favor, like the Morningstar
well, that's a good one to bring up, right? So let's bring up two pretty famous changes, right? Recently, one would be the Morningstar Fix, and one would be the She-Hulk Fix, right?
Oh yes.
Now the Morningstar Fix, right? Specifically in her text, it explains how her lifesteal works, and it says, she'll steal a percentage of health based on the damage dealt. And it was a scenario where she was stealing health where no damage was being dealt. It's there in the game, in the description for the player to read. Mm-hmm. And then look at it, when we look at She-Hulk, they said, oh, her heavy isn't supposed to work that way. That's an exploit. There was nothing in-game that said you couldn't do that. Yeah. There was no way for the players to know that that's an exploit, right? So that's how I look at it. It's like, what bucket does it go into? Clearly a bug stated in the game, looks like a bug, or it's an exploit, but there was no way for the players to know. And when I look at this Corvus situation, and I know this situation is bigger than just Corvus, and to be clear, there is no Corvus nerf active in the game right now. We're seeing that way too much. Yeah. There's no Corvus nerf. Absolutely. This, for me, falls in the category of, how are we supposed to know this was an exploit when you allowed us to do it for 2 years, and his description says he's immune to death? Yes. Right? Like, how? And okay, but let's put that. Let's even put that aside. Let's say, okay, you've looked at it, you've decided you want to change the rules. It's not fun. Everyone agrees it's not fun. Why do we do this? Well, the reason we do it is because you, as the developer, have designed content and are asking us a question with this content that we are trying to solve, right? Mm-hmm. This is the best answer we can come up with.
Yeah.
So if you don't want us to answer the question this way, you need to ask a different question.
Yeah.
You know, like if you guys change AQ so that timeouts are not a viable or desired strategy, then everyone's going to be okay with that, and no one's going to be upset if you change that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you just turn this off, like what this bug fix that accidentally went live did, that is catastrophic, because whether or not you people have, especially at the map 7 level where they're running map 7 5 days a week with master modifiers, their battle groups are designed around this strategy. So you're going to cause people that they've been doing map 7, they've been doing this, and you're going to take that away mid AQ, like that is a catastrophic change.
Yeah.
You know, so you just can't do that.
The problem.
So that's why they, you know, thankfully they rolled it back, right?
Yeah. It does put everything to a very uneasy time for the player.
Oh, the timing of this could not have been worse.
Yeah. There's the rebuild of faith in the game, faith in the developer. Both things that, rather than people just going, like, it's just like a switch. It's the switch between going like, right, well, the developer's doing something good, and then it's like this happens, and then the switch is then flicked back to the mistrust in the developer, because it wasn't a case of like going. They were talking about the roadmap, and they had the ideas of like showcasing roadmap and like the idea of the future. But what is the future when there's these kind of little micro changes that, and in Kabams' sense, maybe they kind of say as even, and I quote, unhealthy. But then, what is constituted to be healthy when there's so many unhealthy things that have been put out in the last year that don't make the player base feel healthy towards. I'm using the word healthy quite a bit because it was a word that Kabam Mike used. But healthy relationship as well is very important between player and developer. I mean, look at the mistrust if something happened to the likes of like Quake or Aegon, two very key champions that, number one will be a complete powerhouse for avoiding anything, as Quake, avoiding a lot of kind of damage and putting in a lot of damage the other way with aftershocks and just kind of like kit build and stuff. And is very much in some cases people would say that, well, is Quake an exploit? The same way saying that, well, should a champion like Aegon be present, who is like a modern day equivalent of a total kit and damage output champion, similar to what Star-Lord was back in the day? Was Star-Lord back there an exploit for some of the content that came about? You know, these are kind of things that would make players very uneasy to think about.
Exactly. That's what scares you, right? Because the reason that this change thankfully got rolled back pretty quick, right? The reason that this was so important, because this isn't like She-Hulk where it was just for one fight that was important. Now, the champion fight, I don't want to downplay it. That's a pretty big deal, right? But playing AQ every day is a lot bigger deal. And Corvus is a top 5 champion in the game. If you have a Corvus and he's duped, you're bringing him to AQ.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a given, right? Like you have to. So like this just, the impact of this is just, you know, potentially so huge. But you know, to get to your question, right? Like the thing that's scary and that festers distrust is you're telling us this is an exploit now, 2 years later. So the next step is, of course, well, what else is an exploit that you think's an exploit that we don't know is an exploit?
Yes.
that we think's a legit strategy.
That's exactly it.
Because that's what happened with She-Hulk. Right? It was the same exact thing. Something that we thought was a legit strategy because we had no way to know in game was deemed an exploit. So that's the thing that makes me super nervous. And I know it's tough because if you say, all right, this is an exploit, you're telling your community, right? This is an exploit. It's in the game, but don't use it because we're saying it's an exploit. Well, what's everyone gonna do? Right? Like let's be honest. So part of me part of me understands why they're reticent to say it, but I mean, I think stuff like this is different than like, hey guys, if you run this quest right now, it pays out the rewards every single time, and it's not supposed to. Like, I think everyone would be like, yeah, like that's clearly an exploit, and we get why it's an exploit. Like that's not supposed to happen. But stuff like this where it's actual gameplay related and there's no way for us to know, like that's the really troublesome stuff for me.
Yeah.
So I hope there's a way for them to address.
Right. And with all that said, that was the very unexpected thing.
That was the unexpected road bump in a very bumpy week.
And this was meant to be the week where Kabam was gonna not rein us back in, but kind of like invite us back into the positive change, because obviously you don't want negative change with the game. You want to feel positive that the developer is listening to you. Well, we got the roadmap. We got an idea of what Kabam...
We got a roadmap. We got our first roadmap. And I can tell you, based on my stats, people are very interested in the roadmap.
Yeah.
So
we've had
definitely a lot of questions about it.
Yeah, I think people are either going to... and I've seen different responses. I think the biggest problem is we had such a negative day. It was Thursday. Was it Thursday that this kind of Corvus thing happened?
Mm-hmm.
So like...
Yes,
it was kind of like a blip where I think then Friday when we got the full information, it sort of improved things, but at the same time there's more questions that have been asked. Kabam did make a mention to say that this does not answer a lot of the things that players have, based on a lot of problems players have from the general feedback. The general feedback will be answered in early June. Was that correct?
Yeah, that's what they're saying. It's going to be a few more weeks before they address some of that. Although I would say that I do feel like they did address one key bit of feedback that they're not getting any credit for. And that is pushing back the release of Act 7.
Oh, yeah, thank God.
So let's be clear that was a huge piece of community feedback as to the content of that beta. Yeah. And it was in, prior to that feedback, we have to assume it was in their roadmap to get that thing out as soon as possible. And now it's on the shelf. So that is one example of them listening to us.
Yeah,
I do want to give them credit for that.
Yeah, I had
now we're going to see what they do with it.
That's true. And there's a lot of changes. I still find it absolutely mind-boggling to think that straight after, a month after we had the release of Act 6.4 and the kind of like end point of Act 6, that we've then got Act 7, even from a beta standpoint, because it theoretically would probably point Act 7 to be released around about the time of, let's say, September, if they beta tested it for... If everything went well from it, then it could even be a case like maybe... actually, I don't think it would be September, because that's when they first slated Variant 5 to be released.
Yeah, I think it would have been July.
Yeah. And even that would be a bit kind of like, it's a bit ridiculous to even think that would have been a logical thing. The thing I want to return to back in this podcast is the notion of, and something that I mentioned in a video, which is Kabam's idea of taking the pulse of where everyone is at in game and everybody's thought process behind the game, because that's something I've kind of mentioned in the past about our Kabam a little out of touch, and obviously I think we've definitely seen this in the last month to 2 months. Kabam have been out of touch with where players have been in the game and where their content is delivered and also perceived, and I wouldn't say enjoyed. I was going to say like enjoyed, but unless it's variants, I don't think a lot of the content is enjoyed.
Yeah, well, it's a tough job, right? I mean, there's how many hundreds of thousands of active players, and we see this even within our discussions within the CCP, which is a much smaller group of players, is that the players that are in Masters and or playing Map 7 have different needs than the gold players or the map 6 or the map 5 or the people in retirement alliances.
Yeah.
So, part of it's really hard. You have to wonder, you look at the data and they draw conclusions from it, and you have to wonder, based on where we're at now, whether the right conclusions were drawn from that data. But I think when you talk about variance, that is one clear example of where the feedback didn't line up with their actions, right? Because the feedback from variance has been deadly positive, right? From variant 1 was rough.
Yes.
Variant 2, big improvements, which I feel like the community pretty much universally acknowledged. Variant 3, very much loved. And variant 4, other than the Mordo fight, which was really more about champion acquisition than the content of the fight, pretty much universally praised, right? 3-4 paths in some of those, right? You get to use different champions. It was fun. It was quick. Rewards were great. So why do you get a release schedule from December to the following September for something that everyone's saying, we love this, we want more, dude, please, may we have some more, right? Like that's the thing, like could we, I don't see how the community could have been any clearer about give us more variants as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
So and you're saying in your statements, like, all right, it's one of our most popular things. It's like, well, why aren't you giving us the most popular thing? Like, I understand, like, 6-star crystals are very popular, and you can't just give us 6-star crystals like every day because that would be popular, Like, I don't think giving us a variant every 3 months is breaking the game. Like, clearly there were priorities listed out. Like, they could only develop so much so quickly, right? That's fair. We all agree with that. But clearly there was a focus on completing Act 6 and Abyss and Incursions and Act 1 of Book 2 and then a variant. Right? So variants just got way down on the depth chart. And suddenly it's September. And it's just like, well, why did you guys think that was a good idea based on the feedback you were getting? Because you weren't getting good feedback on Act 6.
No. This is the thing when it comes to polling the community. Now, I know there's always like this, I think called like Summoner, is it called Summoner Sanctum or something, where people get polled about the game, but I don't know if they get, what kind of like, what's the extent of this polling? And as well, where do the, forums could be utilized more to find out from players where they are? And at the same time, like, well, where's the communication in Kabam on the matter? Do like these separate departments where you got like community managers, the development team, marketing team, and I don't know. I don't know how Kabam is run. I'm just guessing, by the way. But where do these link together and go like, well, one does like Kabam Mike come to the table and go, hey guys, I've been speaking to a lot of the player base. What I get from the player base is that they want to see more of this content and they resonate more towards this, and it's positively received. But the game development team or the kind of the managers go, no, that's not where we're going to be taking the game because we believe that this is the way that we should take the game. Yeah, but that's not what the community want. And again, like I said, I don't know Kabam's.
I get it. Sometimes the community doesn't know what they want, right? But in this case, at least with variants, we've been. How many episodes have we talked about release notes and been disappointed that Variant 5 hasn't been in the release notes
for the last 2 to 3 months? I think.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, listen, they let us vote on champion buffs, right?
Yeah.
They say we can do one buff. It can be one of these 6 champions. Who do you want? I don't see the harm in saying we have a slot 3 months from now. It can be another variant. It could be a celebrity challenge. It could be a boss rush. I'm just throwing out examples, right? Basically, like in 3 months, there's a development window, and we can execute A, B, or C in that amount of time. You got a week. Tell us which one you want.
Yeah.
Like, I think they could do that, and that would be a lot of that would be good, right? Because even when your champion doesn't get picked for the rework, right? Like the arguments already be like, well, dude, everyone voted, you had a chance, right? Like you can only be so mad if you lose the vote.
Yeah.
But when you don't have any choice. Now, obviously they can't do that with everything, but I think that kind of stuff is well received, right? Like even when they let us vote for the contents of those crystals every once in a while, people love that. People really dig that stuff. So, I think when it comes to communication, I think Kabam has to realize they're at a pain point with the community where all this stuff has really come to a head, right? And if they don't talk to us and unfortunately take some lumps to work through this process, it's only going to get worse, because some of this stuff could have been addressed a month ago and it wasn't, and then Seaton made a video and the dam burst.
Yeah.
And now we're here. And even after Seaton made his video, right? Like there was that week where we had the presentations, but they didn't really say anything, right? And I think most of the community was okay with giving them a week to respond.
Yeah.
You and I don't know whether a week to respond and give us what they did is reasonable or not, especially in these times when a lot of people are working remotely. But at the end of the day, the community decided 2 weeks was too long.
Yeah.
And we are where we are. So we could be in a situation where they needed that amount of time to come up with their answers, but the community wasn't willing to give it, and you still end up in a pretty crappy place.
Yeah.
So
where we're large,
I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah. Describing this situation is very difficult to look at other games and where we are with Marvel Contest Champions. I do think the games come to a point where they will either die off, or it's a case that they resonate and listen to their player base a lot more. I'm just trying to think of many games as an example. It's like saying when like the game reached its popularity a long time ago, and the same thing with other games. They reach a peak, and then after that peak, it's a case that up until that point, let's say 2 years, we're running off of what we're told. So Kabam go, right, well, this is the way that we're taking the game, and we largely will follow on with that. But then there comes a point where going like, the developer needs to start listening to players and understanding where they're all at the different various places for how they market, number one. Number two, put new content together. And number three, keep the quality of life. All things only as of, I'd say, Friday, Kabam have got a handle on. And I'll give you some examples now. On Friday, Kabam Mike took to the forums and was answering many of people's opinions and thoughts on the roadmap. In particular, saying that they've got an eye on, and this will be answering the general feedback probably in the early June on the next thing. So first of all, takes to the forums and says basically they're going to actually look into the Act 6.2.6 champion fight and change it with things in mind, obviously with the Grandmaster fight. Obviously, we've started off the convo this evening's going like, right, well, the Thing is a really good option. But personally, for me, like I've got champions that I've got Beardo and Dr. Doom, which I'd use. But obviously, I had a problem personally with that fight. Now, will Kabam look to change that and tailor it to my liking? Maybe, and that's why I'm going to hold off to do the 100% on that.
Oh yeah.
So that's.
I mean, you have to hold off now.
Yeah. So I'd say anybody that's thinking of doing a good chunk of Act 6, maybe hold off. Although I haven't listened over the weekend and decided to hammer out a lot more 100% because I'm like, I need the 100% this bloody thing as quickly as possible.
I know. You part of you is just like, I want it to be done.
Yeah.
I don't want it hanging over my head. Personally, I'm just going for completion, and then I'm going to stop.
Yeah, I think that maybe I might go back to variant 1 and 100% that before thinking about doing an Abyss of Legends. But anyway, the other thing that Kabam Mike said was, and I will read this out, and I'll probably refer to this in Marvel Contest Champions news. I won't put it on screen, but he says, in answer to somebody saying, "Hey, Marvel Contest Champions, in case you were wondering, one of the things the community is angry about, tell me where this guy is useful besides Arena," showing a picture of Moon Knight as a 6-star. Kabam Mike responds with, "We're aware and working on it. This isn't a quick and easy change to make, but we need to work towards making the hard work of pulling a champion for a 6-star crystal worth it. But we need time. This is a big game, and a change won't happen. What can't happen overnight or even in a month. So that gives me the idea, and obviously slight props to Kabam on this. It seems to be a change, but don't kind of misquote me here. This change has only happened as a result of this situation. Kabam Mike saying something like that is not the same thing as saying, right, well, about 3 weeks ago, they had a handle on what this situation was all about. So that's relatively good news.
Sure. I mean, I don't know, but I can't imagine reviewing Act 6 and the champion fight was on the table a month ago.
Absolutely.
Because it's not like the voices calling for that change weren't calling for that change when the fight came out however many months ago, right?
Yeah.
This has been pretty consistent. No one woke up 2 weeks ago and was like, you know what? Upon further review, that champion fight's a little bit much when it comes to the difficulty.
Yeah.
It's the light bulb didn't go off. People had been saying that. If Kabam's listening and there was one takeaway that I would want them to get from what I'm saying in this podcast is I appreciate the difficulty of communicating with this community. Like, we see it too. We see it in the comments. We get it. All right. I appreciate that. But the bottom line is you guys waited too long to talk to us. And because of that, everything is now on the table.
Yeah.
We're questioning everything. So it's not, is 60 minutes the appropriate time for an AQ timer and it should be moved to 30 minutes? It's, why are there timers at all? Prove to us why timers. What's your reason as a developer that you need timers? It's not donations need to be reduced. It's, why are there donations?
Yeah.
And you can go on with that. And you see this with people talking about the RNG of crystals and things like that too, right? Like, everything's on the table. You by not communicating, by waiting to address these things, everything festered and it reached a boiling point and it blew up. And it's terrible that it did that. And I'm just hoping that, like you said, I don't think the game's going to die. I really hope they're taking this seriously. I believe they are from the communication that we have with them in the CCP. I believe they do care and they do take it seriously. And I really hope they're going to use this as an opportunity to change, because I do want the game to be the best it can be. And I do want it to be around for a long time. And I'm still having a really, really good time playing many parts of this game and being in an alliance and creating content for it. There's a lot of stuff that I really enjoy, but these are self-inflicted wounds. When you talk about Moon Knight being looked at, right? Like, why is he in the 6-star crystal? Yeah. Like we didn't do that. Yeah. He was underpowered when you put him in the crystal. That didn't happen overnight.
Absolutely.
You didn't have to do that.
I mean, you could have used so many other champions that would have been good from a 6-star perspective. And this goes back to that point that I said about returning back to. It's like having your finger on the pulse of the community and going, do you know what? If the first ever 6-star basic went out, but went out with a list of champions that were relatively good, unawakened, I'm not talking like amazing, but just
but if maybe Psylocke is your baseline.
Yeah, I mean, that's got power control.
It's got to be useful.
Yeah,
something.
Iceman.
Iceman. Just not your Groots.
Yeah.
Not your Iron Patriots.
Yeah.
Just not those. Help us out. At least make us feel like, okay, could probably do something with this. It might not be an everyday champ. We get it, but and then if you buff someone, add them in.
Yeah, I mean that could be the thing. It's like any time they go. When they were thinking of doing the first 6-star basic, is going, right, well, what we'll do is we'll roll out the buffs for those champions to say every time a champion is buffed, that then that champion would enter into it, but do it more regularly. I know that Kabam wouldn't be able to do that, but the difference is that it goes back to something I've talked a long time ago about, the idea that, well, we have 2 champions a month. Why do we have 2 champions a month? Couldn't we just either have one champion and one champion reworked, or just one champion at all and something else looked at in game? Why do we need to have 2 new champions a month? Obviously, Marvel Future Fight, Marvel Strike Force are just like pumping them out left, right, and center, but they don't have the level of detail in the build from animations, the build from abilities, and several other factors. So, look, I think anybody would know that you're not able to do what others are doing because your champions, your characters in game are better than some of the other games. So,
right. I mean, I know that gets brought up a lot, right? Why 2 champions a month? And they did slow down, right? Because at least it's 2 champions a month, and not every other week now. So
yeah,
I mean, we know why there's 2 champions a month is that crystal sales have to represent a significant portion of revenue, right? So if you are going to go to 1 new champion a month, right? Like, you can't just propose that in a vacuum if it affects revenue.
yeah.
So I'm a little more forgiving about that, just because it's easy for us to say, do something that makes you less money. It's very different in a corporate setting to pitch it to your boss, right? Like, and I mean, you can't. I mean, you know, you remember being, you know, in an office setting, like, you really can't bring an idea to the boss and be like, okay, so here's my idea to increase quality, and the boss would say, "Oh, that's great. How are you going to do it?" It's like, "Well, I'm gonna cut our output by 50% a month. How's that going to affect revenue?" "Well, it's not going to be good. It's definitely going to go down." "Well, how are you going to replace that revenue?" I don't know that. I haven't solved that part yet. Then they'll say, "Get out of my office and come back when you have." You know, like, you can't pitch that.
Yeah, unless they could come out with
understanding about that.
Yeah, unless they could come up with something that would be equally as appetizing for those that would be willing to spend on that. Maybe it wouldn't be a case that it would be anything associated with the new, which obviously we're trying to like push here, this kind of narrative. But as well, something maybe equally as appetizing for players that would reflect on the financials from Kabam to keep going, and obviously Netmarble as being their owner, and as well something that would satisfy the player base. It would be a very difficult one. So it's a very broad statement from myself. It would require.
As far as what I would consider a realistic change, you know, there's certain things where when you talk about the menu of complaints and things that people want, I think if you're expecting Kabam to abandon 2 champs a month, or a champion acquisition system that is heavily reliant on RNG, I think you're doomed for disappointment.
Right.
I mean, I think there's some stuff that you're just going to have to decide if it's worth for you to continue to play.
Yeah.
And if RNG champ acquisition and 2 champs a month is really grinding your gears, I think that's going to be a tough one to solve. I think some of these other ones have some true opportunities for them.
Yeah, and that's
I think some of it's just like this is our game.
Yeah, that's true.
You know.
Right, let's move on to these kind of other improvements Kabam have put in their roadmap. And again, just to reiterate that this is stuff that has been built for months in the work, rather than it being a case that this is something based on feedback. So
yeah.
First of all,
other than the variant 5 thing being moved up, and the other stuff, this Alliance Treasury tickets don't get built overnight.
No, exactly. That was the thing. I think because that was back a long time, a couple months ago. Otrix data mined and found something about what was raid tickets, or
I remember that.
And I think this is what this was. It
must be.
Yeah. So. Which it's got some sort of, I think it's taking some sort of build idea from, what's the other one? Forged to Fight, Kabam's other game. I mean, I still got hope that this is going to replace one of the other game modes, but I don't think it was, because it's been something in the past for a while. But yeah, Alliance Quest improvements go just in regards to like treasuries, buying tickets to enter Alliance Quest, and the cost of tickets themselves. Those are the things that are very, I don't know, they have divided a lot of opinions on matters. And I don't know, what is your feeling on them, Dan?
I mean, this is a significant change, right? And significant changes are always bumpy, even if it's a good change, right?
Yeah.
There's some people that don't like change and they like things the way they are, and you talk about the people that are like, oh, I've been in my alliance for so many years and we built up our treasury. Overall, I think this is a good. And I like the change. I like that donations are going down. I like that map 5 is going to be free for people. There certainly are a couple drawbacks to it, but I think the biggest thing is this is such a great way to combat arena bots.
Yeah.
Which is something we've been complaining about as a community for a long time, right? So the reason that arena bots exist is to farm all those resources and then sell them, right? And now you can't do that. So there's still a question of, well, if gifting comes back, they could have an impact there, but I mean that's a question for down the road. And I know gifting's one of your favorite topics.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think we're ever going to see gifting ever again. That's just something that wouldn't work, I don't think, with Kabam's standpoint. But
yeah, I mean, the big issue with it is how the donations, how the ticket donations work right now, as far as opening the maps, right?
Yeah,
and this really hurts split map alliances.
Yeah, that's the other thing I didn't consider.
To get fixed. I really hope they're going to fix it. I know a ton of feedback has been submitted on that, and I truly hope they're going to address that. I wish that had been, there to start, but I feel like there's a lot of suggestions there, and hopefully there's a way to do it during these weeks where Alliance Quest is free and before the tickets go into effect on June 10th, because they did put the split, the split battle group thing in the game so you could test, but now it's kind of cost prohibitive, right? You're asking, say you've got you're a 655. Well, it's like, well, why should 10 people be paying and probably using items to learn map 6 when the other two battle groups pay nothing and they're comfortable and get better rewards? That's a hard sell for the people doing the extra work.
Yeah, that's the thing that I completely missed off. And that's the thing, a lot of the times because there's so many people in different ways of life, but different positions of where they are, whatever alliance they're in, whatever their strategy is. That's the thing. We all don't know other players that have experienced things that others may not. And that's the thing, even, because the game is so big now, Kabam have to understand that, again, have to have their finger on the pulse of the community when it comes to matters like this. And split battle groups. Oh yeah, so I want to do map 6. Yeah, okay, fine, but all of us collective, it costs us. Well, you're going to be buying tickets for those that are going into the stuff that's actually spending for map 6. Or we're in map 5. No, we're not spending for them, so they're spending there. But we're all in this together. Like, you're right. There's that element that just gets completely missed off.
Yeah, and I think I think it needs to get fixed. And where it's really tough is it's so difficult to move up a map as it is, right? So you really need to dip your toes in the water because of the expense. Like, it's really hard to move from 5 to 6. It's actually harder than ever now because there's 2 variations.
Yeah.
And it's extraordinarily hard to shift from 6 to 7 because of the 3 variations and the amount of officer work it requires and the increase of donations. So it's like, why you should want to transition players up the maps, right? Like, that's good for the game.
Yeah.
To escalate people's map use. So I don't know how that got missed. And it's just going to make things harder. So I really hope it's going to be addressed. My gut feeling is it will be addressed.
Yeah.
So I really hope they do that before tickets go into effect, though.
Yeah, maybe even delaying it to the next cycle.
a couple more weeks of free AQ will not upset anyone.
Absolutely.
Just gonna throw that out there for you. If you guys need an easy win, I got one for you.
Yeah. Okay, the next thing was Alliance Wars improvements. And I don't know, actually.
You said that with air quotes, right?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Alliance Wars improvements.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure we're on the same page there.
I mean, I gotta be honest. Most of the stuff that I didn't, because this was stuff that's been months in the build. I'm still unimpressed with these two game modes. I know we've talked about, like, you like the regularity that Alliance Quest brings, and we both have these, I think, generally kind of similar opinions on Alliance Wars in general. Whether it be like roster availability, nodes, defense tactics,
being overtuned,
that's it. Boss. Mini boss and boss repetition, regardless.
Yeah, it's super cool now that everyone's got a Sig 200 mojo.
Yeah,
that's been sweet.
Yeah, I mean, like we even said, the mini bosses. Like you said, oh, there's a mini of Vision Arcus, and this today we got the same thing. We got Vision Arcus in the same position. I can't. It's just repetition, similarities.
I can do it with an invulnerability potion, but we're in War 2, and I've already used 2 out of my 3, and I'm going to use my 3rd one once we get off this podcast.
Yeah.
So I mean, what are you going to do with that? I mean, when I read the Alliance War stuff, it just feels like more of the same.
Yeah.
To me, it feels like they're just doubling down on defense tactics because, I mean, they're not going away. And they're adding new ones. So the message to me seems like they're acknowledging that they haven't got it right yet, but they feel like they can.
Yeah.
And I just disagree with that. I don't think this is something that you can tweak and get right. I think it's fundamentally flawed, and I've been saying that for a long time. And that's why it's funny you start out the podcast and you didn't say the S word, but you talked about people being upset with the CCP and calling us shills, right?
Yeah.
Like, remember on Friday when I tweeted out, like, we saw an Alliance War presentation and I was not enthused, and then KT1 made a video about it. But we're all shills.
Yeah.
Even though it's like that's why I say you take stuff with a grain of salt, because it's like, all right, look at the. It's always laughable to me when someone says, "Oh, like Dave's against the community." It's like, look at the guy's body of work. Of course, he's not against the community. That's a silly take, right?
Yeah.
So
it's and just like obviously touch on CCP stuff now, because in the last 48 hours, Seaton's rejoined the CCP.
Seaton's back. That was crazy when I woke up and I saw that he was back in.
I wonder what people's thoughts are. The people that were generally against the CCP, will they now change their mind about it?
It's interesting because I was thinking the exact same thing, right? And of course, you go in the comments of his video, and he addresses it right off the bat, as he should, and he says it won't influence his opinion, which I 100% agree. It won't influence his opinion, and I don't believe that it influences anyone's opinion, because we're allowed to critique and be negative. I mean, has anybody watched Rich's Marvel Contest News?
No.
Like, you don't miss a bug.
That's true.
Right? Like you don't. Like, Seaton's not going to get influenced by that.
No. I think the question
it's for the good of the game that he's in the CCP. Though I fundamentally believe it is better for the game that he is in the CCP and has the access and has the direct line to the developers, and is seeing everything that's in those chats. That is for the good of everyone. But you see the comments, right? It's like, oh, 2 weeks ago he releases a video, he's stepping down from Omni, he's stepping back. And then even before that, people were like, oh, I guess he's not fighting for us because he bought Red Guardian crystals. It's like, that's not how this works, guys.
Yeah.
It's like, if Seaton's in the CCP, he can fight for you more.
I guess
that's all everyone's doing in there.
Yeah, I guess
Is
that's
trying to work with the developers. It's not. I shouldn't say fight. Fight is too combative. It's not. It's not us versus Kabam. It's trying to come to mutual understanding, explain where the players are coming from, bridge the gap between the developers, and open up the communication. And there's been some very awesome dialogues going on in there.
Yeah.
So,
because this is the thing about bringing it together from a point of, again, this general feedback. Everybody has their own issues. Where do you look to bring that point to the developer? What point do they understand? What have they been missing over the amount of the last year, which obviously they clearly have been? Where's a point that they've been kind of, I'd say, developing and producing the game with blinkers on that then require, a catalyst of positive change? Because again, we don't want negative change. We want positive change. If the game has come 5 years, we want it to see that it lasts 10 years.
absolutely.
Not always achievable from a mobile game standpoint, but,
They've already had a crazy run.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, when you consider 5 years in, they won Black Friday. That's insane.
Yeah.
And they're still, the top Netmarble game.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean that is significant. That a share of revenue of that company.
Yeah.
Right? It is hard to be that consistent. So they've done. That's the thing is like you have to take a step back. It's like they have developed a really cool game.
Yeah.
But it needs some help right now.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's hard because I imagine the data, and it's like, all right, well, they're probably looking at things like player retention and like, all right, well, versus map 6 versus map 7, and we get really focused on like, they probably look at much bigger numbers.
This is the thing, isn't it?
Data.
We definitely need to see the game going in that better direction, and obviously this little roadmap that's produced on Friday showcases some of the ideas that have been in the making for a while, including alliance leadership tools.
Oh, love that.
Which is amazing for officers, by the way. That's a definite.
That's one of the things where, if someone says like, dude, why did you say you were excited? It's like, because I'm an officer and we've been asking for this forever. And this is great. Like the ability to assign battle groups to membership as an officer is very exciting. I'm not going to apologize for that being exciting.
Yeah.
We've wanted that for a long time. You have someone accidentally join your map 7 battle group and tell me that doesn't cause an hour-long cluster in the alliance leadership chat, because I guarantee you it does. That is a fire drill.
Yeah.
So anything that helps avoid that is amazing, and it's a first step, right?
Yes.
Like if we can assign, I wonder what they could do next. Could they allow us to assign paths? Could they allow us to set our defenders and save the placement? Right? Like, we gotta hope. I don't know. I haven't been told that any of these things are coming. But please don't take it that way. But you've gotta hope that this is the tip of the iceberg with these kind of things.
Yeah.
And that if it goes well, we're gonna get more.
Yeah.
So, I do find this very exciting. Leadership tools in game are going to be huge, especially for lower level alliances that don't use third party.
And the other thing that was kind of like improved upon was something that I'm a bit unsure about was Abyss rewards.
Yeah, that was, unexpected, right? But pretty cool. Maybe they got tired of watching all those Abyss 100% rewards videos.
Yeah, maybe I should look back at them and just find out whether or not any YouTuber or anybody that might have recorded a video had complained about it being too hard and not rewarded quite as much. Because that's the thing, whether or not because they came to that realization that it's not rewarded as it should be, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I guess, a pleasant surprise, and maybe it's one of those things that's easier to fix quickly.
Yeah.
So why not throw it in there if you're feeling like maybe it needs a little bit of help? Well, now's a good time to lean towards a yes, right?
Yeah.
So why not? So that's definitely good to see.
Yeah. And then we've got to wait until I think it's first week of June potentially when
Yeah.
we'll have the roadmap that answers the questions of the general feedback, which will be hopefully more in depth, and hopefully to the tune of some of the stuff that I mentioned that Kabam have been more open discussing, like the changes to Act 6.2.6 Champion Boss, maybe
Right.
some of the things. And if they're willing to change that, then maybe they're willing to change certain things when it comes to gating systems and the future ideas behind champion acquisition versus usability, in bunny ears, usability, not a word, usability of said champions in different content. So it could be positive, but we're still in the don't know stage. We've gone back
We're very much in the prove it stage, right?
yes,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
trust.
it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
But the stakes are pretty high
Yeah.
right now. And there's a lot, you're never going to make everyone happy. We know
No.
that. But I would just hope that they're taking this time to really reevaluate stuff and not play it safe.
Yeah.
Because like part of the reason why things got stale and people are complaining is because things just didn't change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like and we all know change is hard and is often not safe. But I think if you look at the history of this game and the greatest victories and achievements, if you want to call it that, for Kabam, is when they were at their most creative.
Yes.
When you think about variants continuing to get more creative, when you talk about My Little Symbiote, when you talk about changing different side quest items and stores and letting people have more choices, those things are great. When you talk about continually pushing the envelope with the graphics and the champion, design, right?
Yeah.
Like, that stuff's been awesome. So it's like, that's the thing, is like, I feel like we're both sending everyone's sending so many messages to the Kabam, but it's like, guys, you don't need to play it safe. You've proven you can do this. That's part of the reason we're so frustrated with you. The reason that we're so frustrated about the Act 7 beta is because we know you can do better because you've shown us.
Yes.
We know you guys can do this, and we want you to do it. So, it's like, now's the time. Take this opportunity, reevaluate everything. Like, I believe in you guys. You have it in you. You can do it.
Yeah. That's obviously the message that we want to give to Kabam is,
yeah,
there is element of belief, but also there is at the same time earning the trust, and it comes from a very difficult week with a lot of the AQ timer thing.
Yeah. A lot of long-term festering issues have unfortunately eroded that, and even the best statement can't earn it all back.
Yeah.
Right? It's got to be consistent. Like DNA 3000 was talking about, it's got to be dialogue driven.
Yeah.
Got to be willing to get in the trenches and answer the hard questions and deal with the trolls and
yeah.
It's not easy, but and guys, listen, we're here if you ever want to talk.
Yeah.
Get on the podcast, talk to the other podcasts, get on the live streams. Like, you always see it, right? The community wants to see more. We feel good after Comic-Con. We feel good after Kabam John jumps on Incursion streams. Like, we want to talk to you guys, and you're doing better with it. Like, it's not like, has there ever been a time when they've jumped on something and the next day we've all been like, can you believe what they said? Right? Like, it's never like that. It's always been positive.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? That would be nice to have that. I think that's the thing about the last 48 hours. I saw Kabam John answering somebody. I think it was somebody was trying to build a spiral abilities,
Yes.
and he not only responded, but also I think like briefly with the Kabam team tried to work out a quick abilities kind of build for the champion.
Yeah, he got in the trenches with that one. That was cool. That was a cool interaction.
And this is the thing, isn't it? It's different. I don't know if like somebody said, look, you need to get involved with the community more about stuff. That's why maybe we saw Mike responding in the forums. Not the usual kind of like the sassing thing as I usually pick up, but the kind of like going like hands up, going, do you know what? Yeah, you're right. We've got to do this. Same thing with Twitter. Yeah, you're right. We've got to do this. So it does show to me there is change from them.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to be difficult to get the narrative across to people whether or not things have totally changed, but still, it's a slight start. It's a
right.
start
I mean,
10.
it's a start. It's a good start, and I get it. It's hard, and you certainly don't want to get in the position of promising something that you can't deliver, or just may end up deciding is not a good idea, right? So that's what makes that statement about we're looking at Act 6 such a big deal, because that's a big thing to just throw out there. Like you don't just like yeah, we're taking a look at it, right? Like because people see you're taking a look at something, they're going to expect a result from that, a change. Like if they I almost feel like they got to do something now. Like I feel like you have to know you're going to do something to make the statement, even make the statement we're going to look at it, because for like now until they say something, Mike's going to get something on the forums every day. So Act 6, you look at it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You got an update? Like,
Yeah.
Like he's not going to be able to, walk away from that. Like people are not going to forget that. So there's high stakes with what you say when you're communicating with this community, because we do not let stuff go.
Yeah, that's true. I think these are the last 3 episodes we've talked about this situation. I'm hoping that this might trickle through to like next week's, but it's like it's becoming a regular scheme that we've talked about.
Yeah.
This for what seems to, and what will probably end up being a month, which is a big rarity that one subject would take us like one.
Evolving with these twists and turns and guests and
yeah, and we'll I think next week we'll probably try and have an overview of the extent of what's going to be coming in next month's event, plus the new
June
champions
preview next month.
Yeah, we'll do a June preview, because as much as we would like to kind of, I mean, it is important to talk about this stuff. It's just a case of like now we've gone back into limbo. We're back in no man's land because Kabam have said we're doing stuff, but it's not exactly all the stuff that is going to be addressed. That will probably come in the next, like on the 7th of June edition or the 14th of June edition. So hang on to your hats, everybody. It's going to be a bumpy ride, but we'll get there.
Oh yeah. Going to be lots of content, lots of reactions when we do get that state of the game update. And that we're all very much looking forward to. And I keep saying this. I really hope they come out with something that impresses us, that puts us in a better place, and makes it so that we can point to and say, yep, they checked the box. They did listen.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, what are you up to next week, Dan?
Next week, gonna work on hopefully some 6.3 completion. Don't know if I'm gonna get it all done, but certainly gonna chip away at the back half of that, and gonna run a lot of riffs.
Good.
So I'm pretty much done with everything else. So got to spend that energy somewhere. So hopefully more 5 and 6 star shards and less 5-star sig stones. Even though I like 5-star sig stones, can do a little better than that.
Yeah.
Like to hit on an awakening gem or a 5-star featured crystal.
Nice.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Excellent.
What about you?
I have no idea what I'm doing next week.
No idea.
I've got enough stories news wise to talk about tomorrow, and then I'm waiting for something to arrive in order to do a promo video with like some crystal openings, which I need to do because I want to do a load of rank ups. I've got
nice.
I think I've got like I want to say I've got about 10 to 15 tier 5 basics that I've just not done anything with.
Ooh,
which I need to do something with. So
Rich the man of rank ups.
Yes, exactly.
Who do you think's going up?
Oh,
give us a tease.
Well, I've got the Act 6 stuff, which is probably going to be putting resource into either Corvus or Warlock as a 6-star. But it depends. If I get a nice 6-star Awakening, I'll probably be more inclined to like put all my resource into that.
Right.
5-star wise, either Black Widow, Clairvoyant, Colossus, Guillotine 2099, and there's a few others that are download that need to be ranked up higher to be rank 5. But so many choices, and as well,
good choices though. Good choices.
But here's the thing: if I rank up any of those champions, though, what's going to happen with Act 6? A lot of them I'm kind of ranking up and going, well, I'm not quite sure about the landscape over the next couple of months. So things I'd rank up for certain paths, I'll probably just do it in any case. I don't.
Well, I think most of those. It's not like you're ranking up Man-Thing and then they go and change Acid Wash Mysterio.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Warlock's going to help you. Clairvoyant's going to help you. Colossus is going to help you. So I don't know. I think you're as safe as you can be with those champions that you're listing. Those are some solid picks.
Yeah, I think, as I always say to a lot of people, is that if you're kind of searching, if you're kind of deciding between different kind of decent champions, then whoever you rank up, you can't make a bad decision.
There you go.
And we'll end it on there. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us on episode 18. We'll see you in episode 19, which will be focused on what Kabam did. What Kabam did last month, but what Kabam have put in for us for June. So we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Make sure to catch Dan in the links in the bio and myself, and see you all next week. Bye-bye.